Hey, Greg.
Hey, man.
So today we have Michael Miqueli with San Antonio Broker Services. They're a trucking company.
Mm-hmm.
So how'd you find this guy?
I found him on my favorite website, which is YouTube. And he's got a great story. His parents came to the U.S. from Cuba, and he grew up around here, started the company after failing by operating a produce business, and then took a loan from a questionable character to pay off his business, to pay off his debt. And he then slowly got into trucking by, literally driving the box truck himself. He made a big turn when he was storing produce for his father-in-law and made, what did he say, 10 grand by just figuring out how to sell it.
He says some really unique things too. Like,
Yeah.
we talk to these guys who kind of built these, gritty businesses, and then you talk to Michael. He's got a very gritty business, but he tells us them that he goes, organic growth sucks. Like his whole story is about how he went for 20 years or so, kind of with organic growth more or less, and then in the last 2, 3, 4 years, he's totally taken off because he's kind of ditched organic growth basically, and now he's got investment and such. Like, it's a very gritty story, but it takes a turn in the middle because he really embraces kind of, I don't know, inorganic growth, whatever the word is for that is.
I mean, taking money, like straight up.
Taking money, yeah, and putting it to really good use.
Yeah, he's interesting. He's an interesting mix of kind of like the new school of take money to build, and the old school of like you'll figure it out over time. And this is one of my favorite interviews that we've ever done.
It's my favorite too.
He's great. Yeah, exactly. 8 million businesses around the world use MailChimp to send email newsletters. We are one of them. It's super easy. Even John can do it. So go to MailChimp.com and sign up. It's great.
Yeah, dude.
Let's just get started by you explaining your background and then how you decided to start the company.
Okay. At the end of 1995, I had a produce business, and it was failing. Okay. And we couldn't. Every which way I looked, everything I tried to do, I couldn't make money. So I wound up selling it, and I sold it, and we were supposed to close right away, and we didn't. It dragged on all the way till about July. And in order to carry the finance of the company, I went to see someone and borrowed some money. Mm-hmm. So in order to pay him back, I had to sell the house I lived in.
Hey.
Oh boy!
Yeah.
Who was this guy?
It was a friend.
Oh no! So, not a friend anymore. My goodness.
No, it was a friend. So, but I had to pay him back.
Yep.
So basically, on February 28th, I walked out of my business. I had a closing on my house the same day, and I had no work and no house.
Oof.
And I had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And
did you make any money off of this sale?
No, it was a complete loss. I paid all my creditors about 87 cents on the dollar and had nothing.
Shut it down. Okay.
So we moved into a condo, 2-bedroom condo, and I'm all freaked out. My wife was working as a substitute teacher, making $60 a day, maybe working 3 days a week. It was like, what the fuck? I was like, this is unbelievable. So, I thought I was at 30 years old, I was at a real good place, and then all of a sudden it was like the bottom just came out, and it was, it was a reality like I had never ever experienced or never even imagined to have. Yeah. So, I'm feeling bad for myself, and I'm all fucked up, and it's like I have no idea what I want to do. So what does a guy do when he feels like shit? He goes to see mom for reinforcement, right?
All right.
So I go to my mom, and I walk in, and I start giving her my whole fucking sob story.
Yeah.
Oh, can you believe, and can you believe, and this, and she looks at me, and she says, I don't know who the fuck you are, but the Michael Micheli that I gave birth to has balls. When you see that guy, he says, when you see that guy, tell him that he knows what he has to do.
Whoa!
So
Mom's amazing.
She's all of 5 feet.
Is she speaking to you in Spanish?
In Spanish, yeah. So as strong as it sounds in English and Spanish, it was like getting hit with a club. It was real.
That's great.
So I walk out and I swear to God, man, my eyes are welled up. I'm like feeling, like, holy shit, this is really, really fucked up. Mm-hmm. And I had a truck. I had left a truck, a little box truck, a 24-foot box truck back in the place. And I said, I'm going to go get this truck and see what I can do. So I get the truck. I go back by my mom's house, and I go to Home Depot, and I buy a gallon of paint. It's a paint over the name, that's, of the place. And I'm painting it, and my mom comes outside. What are you doing? I said, no, I'm going to start a trucking business.
No way.
And she says to me, what are you going to call it? And I said, I don't know. And she goes, call it San Antonio, which is the town that we're from in Cuba.
Yeah.
Okay. So lo and behold, I called it San Antonio. I never thought it was going to go anywhere. Yeah. That at that moment was just a means to an end. It wasn't a business, So we start this business, or I start this business, and I call a couple of contacts, and I said, listen, I got a truck, and I'm working, and I'll do whatever has to be done. I'll do what nobody wants to do. Mm-hmm. Just throw the work at me. So there was a guy that, his name's Dave Barrows, and I owe a lot to that guy. He worked for C.H. Robinson.
Okay.
And
what do they do?
They're a large public company now, but back then they were still private. And they're truck brokers. They do a lot of trucking. And And I called them and I said, Dave, look, I need help. I'm in a bad place. I got little kids. I don't know what to do. And he said, listen, I'll throw work at you every day. Whatever we can find that you can service, we're going to give you. So he starts giving me work. And I got this little, it's a 12-pallet truck. It's a small truck, a little Mack. And I'm driving all around and I'm doing all these deliveries. And, I'm not making money. I think I was averaging probably like $375 a day.
What does work look like, and what is kind of pay for a job? Like, are you delivering for local grocery stores?
I'm going to markets.
Yeah.
And I'm picking up like 12 pallets of potatoes. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to deliver them to Stop and Shop in Connecticut.
There you go.
Yep.
And things like that. And one day was potatoes, another day was carrots. It was always something. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing all this work and that, and I'm struggling. It's like every time I thought I got ahead a little bit, it's like I went back a step forward, 5 steps back, and I'm like, it's like I swear to God, I felt like I had the fucking black cloud over me, like in the cartoons, it's just following you. It was like that. So. We're doing our thing, and I'm working, and I'm saying, I'm not going to quit on this, and I'm doing. And one day, I get a load to do, and I'm driving through the Van Wyck, and I get off on Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn, which you guys are probably familiar with. Uh-huh. So, that area back then was like, I don't know if it is now, it's very Haitian and Jamaican, like.
Not sure.
So, I stop at the light. And like all of a sudden it hit me, like where I was and where I was. And I was like, wow, man, this is like, and it got so overwhelming in that moment that, like when you lose someone, those tears that you just can't, you're not even crying. Your eyes are just like leaking, it just doesn't stop. Mm. And I'm in that, and all of a sudden I hear pop, 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 pop on the window. Hey, Mom, move the fucking truck!
Yeah, no one cares about you. No one fucking cares.
And I'm like, holy, I snap out of it, and I pull over to the side, and I said, fuck this. I said, you know what? This shit isn't going to define me. This is going to refine me.
Okay,
this is going to make me who I am.
Nice.
So I made my delivery. And all of a sudden, I swear, at that moment, it was a whole change of attitude. It was doom and gloom went out the fucking window. It was all about, let's kick this thing's ass. Mm-hmm. So we went, or I went. I always say we because I hate to feel like it's not an I thing,
Yeah.
So did my delivery, got back. I said, I'm going to get a driver on this truck. Now, this truck, I'm financing it with a credit card. I didn't have any money. I didn't have anything. I had a limit. The good thing is that diesel was $1.80 back then. Like it is today.
Yeah.
But it
for
was,
a while. Yeah.
Yeah. But So I'm working and paying and doing everything, and there's just a little bit of money left, but not enough to, like if anything breaks, I was screwed. So I hire a guy and I put him on this truck, and I go down to a truck sales place, and I talk to the guy, and I make a deal, and I have him write the truck up for more money than it costs, and to put that as on the contract as if it was a deposit.
Okay.
So because I didn't have any money to pay him, so I bought a truck, no money down, is what I did.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I did that, and I bought a second truck, and I put a guy on the second truck, and I started working and getting more business, and it was working. It was working.
How long were you trucking by yourself in that 24-foot truck before you had your first hire?
I want to say about 9 months.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And then once you start hiring guys, does your job, at that point, you just basically hustling, trying to find more work, more folks that need stuff moved?
It was all a hustle. It was all a hustle. And the hardest part of the hustle was that I didn't know where to hustle.
Yeah.
It was, I would see first of all, I didn't know. I think the great thing about me in trucking is that I didn't know anything about trucking when I got into it.
We've heard that several times, actually. It's kind of funny. Yeah.
So what happens is that it made me, I guess, so stupid in what I was doing that I couldn't fuck it up because I was starting it fucked up from the beginning. So I get on this. I start making calls and trying to do deals, and the problem was that I had the wrong trucks. I had small box trucks, and the business was in the big trucks, in the tractor trailers.
Just more volume or different kinds of products?
More volume, more opportunity, more more people to go and see.
Gotcha.
It was very limited what you could do with a box truck.
Yeah, I've got to imagine that if I'm a large grocery store, I've got one shipper that's giving me, 5 shipments a week. And if I'm a small grocery store, then I have one truck that comes in every other week or something like that. But I have little need for these kind of one-off jobs like that. So where are you picking up most of your work? You're not displacing big truckers at this point.
So I'm that fill-in guy.
Yep.
Where I was filling in on shorts when people needed 2 pallets of this or 3. I would do that work, and I would get I would get enough work to fill the trucks, and I would do that.
So not very reliable.
Not reliable. The business was when I left at night, I never knew what the work was going to be in the morning, which is a shitty place to be.
Yeah.
So what did you do to focus?
Well, what I did to focus at that moment, I was just so zoomed in on trying to build that business.
Yeah.
And, the thing was that it wasn't working. So then opportunity number 1 knocks, where C.H. Robinson says to me, we got a contract with Sam's Club and with all these supermarkets. And we're going to be packing peppers for retail, and we're going to need you to deliver it to them. So we start doing this. And all of a sudden, wow, making a little extra money. I know my work, what we're doing the next day. I get a 3rd truck, and everything is working beautiful. So we're working fine, and that was in 1990. I want to say 1998, maybe 97. I don't recall exactly, but right in the very, right in the beginning. So we're doing it, and we're pumping, and everything is great. And I'm like kind of relaxed because I'm like, I'm not making any money, but I'm not freaking out either. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, they come and see me. The guys at C.H. Robinson said, we lost the contract.
Oh.
Yep.
And he says, we have a piece of contract left.
Okay.
That if you want, we'll give you it. You can do all the packing. You can do everything. You just got to find a warehouse. And, it's a small warehouse. So I go out, and I find a little warehouse right here in this complex on the other side.
Okay.
And it was 25 feet wide by 110 feet long. So whatever that is, 2,500 square feet. So I start doing this, and I'm hiring all this, illegal aliens to help me pack, and that I'm starting at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's 11 o'clock at night. My wife is calling me. What's going on? I said,
you get 2 little
I
kids.
can't get this done. This isn't working. And all of a sudden, it was all boom, 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 back to the beginning again. And I'm like, this is crazy. So I'm at this warehouse, and my father-in-law was in the produce business. And he calls me one day and he says, I have some Spanish yams that I need to store somewhere. Can you store them for me? And I was like, yeah, I'll store them, but you have to pay me 50 cents a box because I got to make some money somewhere. So it was 1,000 boxes. It was $500. It wasn't even money, but so he says, all right, I'll send them over. So he sends them over, and we start. It's 1 week, 2 weeks, and I call him up and I go, listen, this stuff is going to get bad if you don't sell it. And he says to me, I don't know who to sell it to. See if you can sell it.
Okay.
I said, all right. So I make a couple of calls, and in 3 calls I sell it because I could sell. That was the thing,
Yeah.
So I sell it. I call him up and I go, listen, I sold it to these 3 guys. These is who you sell. I sold them. I asked him, what do I sell them for? He said, sell them for $24. I said, all right. So I sell them for $24. I call him up. Hey, listen, I sold them. I delivered them. These are the people you have to invoice. And he says, no, you invoice them, and then you pay me.
The magic of delegation.
Yeah.
And I said, all right. So I invoiced them, and then I call him back, and I said, listen, I need to know, what are you charging me? And he says, put them in for $14. And I turn around, I look at Roselle, who's been with me since the start, and I said, we just made $10,000.
Just like dumbstruck.
Right. And then it was like I hadn't seen anything like that in such a long time.
What was the size of the peppers contract, that little piece of contract that you had held on to?
What was this?
Do you remember?
I don't remember. We were taking stuff there every day.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 trucks of stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the size of it. It was nothing significant.
Yeah.
And
It
so,
was, it was like, it was like getting a hamburger but not getting a filet mignon,
so you get 10 grand now.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, well.
So I call, I make 10 grand, and I say to him, you have any more yams? He goes, I'm going to go over and see you. So he comes over, and he says, listen, what do you want to do? Because I have a guy who sells all this stuff for me. And I said, just, send me stuff. Fuck the guy. Send me stuff, and I'll sell it. And what they were doing was he was bringing product from Costa Rica and selling by the load to big wholesalers. So I said to him, I don't think we can make any money like that. I think that we should work a different deal. If we take the same product and we're able to sell it to the small guys that compete against the bigger guys, we can build a better market. So I said, we'll bring in trailer loads of everything that you sell, but we'll consolidate it here in the warehouse. So the guy who needs 4 pallets of this, 3 pallets, we'll consolidate and we'll sell out, we'll sell it like that. And he's like, yeah, I think it's a good idea. Go for it. So we start doing it. And we start fucking selling and selling and selling and selling. So in 1996, I don't have a house. I'm fucking broke ass as you can be. Yeah. And in 2000, I'm closing on a house. All because of this. So, so everything is looking up. We're doing great. 2001, he got sick and he passed away. And I still had the business. But along the way, my trucking now was servicing this produce business, and I had a couple of owner-operators who owned tractor trailers going to the ports and bringing the product. And they were very unreliable, but it's what I had. And as we were doing this, more people would call me and say, hey, listen, I know you send trucks to the port. Can you pick up a load for us and bring it? So since I had downtime with those guys, I started doing that. So then around 2005, I'm still doing the produce. that I had started with my father-in-law, but I knew I wasn't making any money. All my competitors now knew what we were doing.
Yeah,
everybody
so
was
they're
doing the same
thing.
shit.
Okay.
So for making $3, $4, $5 a box, we're making quarters.
Yeah.
And I'm saying if I'm buying for $9 and I'm selling for $10, I'm not making any money.
Yep.
Because my expenses are just too much, and to move a box, costs more than that. I'm not making money. So I tell Roselle, I said, do me a favor, split the trucking from the produce. I want to know what's happening here. So when she splits it, the produce had lost X amount of dollars, and the trucking had made X amount of dollars. And I look at it, I'm sitting on my desk, dumbfounded.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this, and I'm saying, shit, I put 99% of my effort into produce and 1% into
Isn't
trucking.
that funny? Yeah.
What would happen if I flipped it? So I flipped it, and I started just pushing the trucking a little more and pushing the trucking, and all of a sudden I said, fuck it, I'm going to go buy a truck. I bought a truck, I've got a guy, put him on my truck, and now I have these owner-operators working, and I have one of my guys working. I get another truck, and then I said, you know what, I'm selling this produce business. Fuck this. This isn't for me. So I tell now I had moved into another building.
Okay.
I had built refrigeration out. It was, it was huge. And I'm like, I got all this money invested. This is fucked. I'm going to lose all this because I'm not going to renew my lease, and it's here, and I'm not going to take it anywhere.
Yeah.
So I tell my landlord, listen, if you find anybody that is interested in a warehouse and wants to buy refrigeration, I'm looking to get out, so let me know. So one day I'm in a meeting with one of my shippers, and I had my office kind of had a door that went into the warehouse, and my landlord came in through that door, sticks his head in and says, hey, Mike, listen, I got this guy, I just want to show him around.
Yeah.
I said, fine. So this guy, the shipper is sitting across the desk from me, says to me, what are you doing? I said, well, I didn't want to say anything, but I'm thinking of getting out of the business. I like the trucking better. I'm not happy with this. I don't like the margins. And he says, I'll buy you.
That.
And I said, well, this is what I want. And he said, fine.
No way.
Yeah.
You already had the number?
I already had the number. I wanted exactly what I had put in.
You weren't expecting a big...
I wasn't expecting any money because it wasn't worth anything.
Right. How do you sell, or what do you sell a business for that's so difficult to operate? The margins are razor thin,
and for this guy it worked because it was an add-on to what he was already doing. He was a grower.
Yeah.
In other countries, so he was, it was good for him. Basically, he was going to be able to do what I had started doing with my father-in-law, with the kind of margins, because now he's a grower.
But he goes the whole way,
right?
Right, yeah,
right.
Okay.
He's from the seed to the sale, all the whole way.
There you go.
So I sell it to him in August. So, we made this. This was in July. By August 30th, we had closed.
Nice.
And I stayed on for a couple of months to help him, and then in December I left. So now I own 3 trucks now.
And so what do you ship? Are you doing produce, or are you doing anything?
I'm doing anything and everything that
just get those trucks moving.
But the majority of the stuff, I want to say probably that back then about 95% of it was produce.
Okay.
So we're handling all this produce. We're doing a lot of work for Dole, not the banana, but Dole stands for it's for Dole Ocean Liner Express is the name of the company.
Okay.
And but it's DOLE, the same thing. So we were doing a lot of work for them, and it was a lot of produce stuff, and we were doing it, and everything was fine. It was working, but there was no growth. It was tough. And then every time I made a little money, I bought another truck. So I want to say around 2010, I'm up to about 8 trucks. And I'm trying to build, and the business is working now. I'm making some money. It's not bad, but it's not.
What does your revenue look like, a ballpark at that
time? Back
time?
then, I was just above $1 million, maybe.
Okay.
And so we're doing the business, and it's okay, and it's a little sloppy because at the end of the week I worked my ass off, and this is it. It's like, so I couldn't build my business, and the reason I couldn't build my business was because organic growth sucks. You can't build a business. Every time you have a little money, you go and you buy a piece of equipment. You'll go to 100, before to have 100 pieces of equipment. It just takes forever.
Yeah.
So I'm struggling with this, and I'm trying to figure out, all right, how can I get money? I have no idea how to get any. I know how to get financing. I know how to go to a bank and ask them for a loan, but I didn't know how to get financing for what I wanted to do. I had an idea How do you get paid on an idea, you know?
You're not going back to the same friend.
Yeah.
No.
Can't give away his house again.
House ain't
No,
working out.
but no more. So I'm sitting and I'm trying to put it together, and I have no idea. And I have this friend who's he's a like a venture capitalist.
Sure.
And every time I'd see him, and I know him because his wife and I went to school together, and we're old friends. And she would say, you know, I don't know what you're doing. You should be bigger than that. You're bigger than what your business is. Why aren't you building your business? What, you know? And every time I saw her, she would be on my ass. And you know, so 2010 comes and goes, 2011, and then 2012. That's when Sandy happened. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Right,
October.
2012. Yeah. I get introduced. I call my friend and the venture capitalist, and I said, "Listen, I need you to give me somebody that can help me put together numbers so I can present to a bank. So I know what I'm doing."
Yeah.
So he introduces me to this gentleman, Dave Barnett, and Dave Barnett owns a company called Attract Capital.
Okay.
So Dave comes and meets me, and we're ready to do something. And I go to California to a convention, the produce convention, and Sandy happens. Mm-hmm. So now, we were doing back then, we were probably doing about 2.3 million in sales. Nothing to write home about. It was just, it wasn't even a lifestyle business. It was just, just a salary business.
Fine, yeah.
So Sandy happens. I come back. The ports here were devastated. They were closed for 3 weeks. All the work that we had was diverted to Norfolk, Virginia. We couldn't do it. So we lost the whole month of October. We lost.
Yep.
So I'm sitting around. I'm like, this just can't be. I can't. So I run out the rest of the year, work it out, and I get together with Dave again in February. I said, I want to put a book together. You have to show me how to do this. And we sit down and he explains all about pro forma and projections and ideas, and he's picking my brain on everything, like where do you think you're going to be with this? How do you think you're going to increase your sales with this and that? And I'm explaining to him all the ideas and all the opportunities that are out there if I'm able to do this deal. And he says to me, all right, we're going to put a book together, and what we're going to do is I have about 70 investors that I'm going to send this to. But I'm going to send 10 out. When I send the 10, the idea is to get feedback. What did we miss? What are they asking? What are we giving them too much information on? What are the things that they really want to know that we're not telling them, and what are the things that we're telling them that they don't give a shit about? Yep. So we send out 10 books and we get 10 bites.
No way.
Really?
Yeah. Everybody's interested. 3 companies want us. They said, they want bigger projections. They want us to be bigger than what we are. I said, listen, I can't go that fast.
Yeah.
So we couldn't do it with them. We sat down with a couple of different companies. We had conference calls, and everything was okay. And then we get a call from a bank, and they're starting an SBA department. They've never done an SBA loan in their life.
Yeah.
So they come in. And they want to sit down. They want to meet here. So they come in, and I sit down. I basically called all my shippers, my produce shippers, and we put a sampling of what we do and what my customers do, so they understood. Because we're not just about trucking. There's a lot that goes into what we do and how we service the public and why what we do is so important. Mm-hmm. So I all the bells and whistles are out, everything, it's a horse and pony show.
For sure.
So they come in, I give them my pitch,
okay,
and they love it. They love the idea, and they commit to the loan.
Can you give me the 2-minute version of the pitch? You want to grow your fleet by how much because you have X amount of customers ready to go?
Basically my pitch was, I have the opportunity to grow business with these contracts that have come, that I have in my hand right now.
That you're currently turning down because you
I'm
just don't have the trucks.
because I can't service. I'm trying to grow my fleet to. Back then I went out, thinking that I was going to get the money anyway.
Yeah,
I went out and bought 5 more trucks.
Oh, God.
So the day they get
I'm
here,
great at sales. I got this.
the bank comes, the trucks that I had just
No way,
bought,
they're outside?
They're outside, and
Jesus.
they're putting the signs
Oh,
on
my
them,
God.
and I'm like, holy shit. So I had 16 trucks. I said, I'm trying to build my fleet.
Yeah.
To another 10 trucks on top of this. So I want to be 25 trucks is what I was saying.
Yeah.
So, I explained to them I need to get rid of this factoring company and I need to carry my own receivables because it cost me X amount of dollars. And I gave them the whole pitch.
Yeah.
And they, and then I need money to buy trucks. I need to buy 10 trucks. So they gave me the money to pay off the factoring and the loan.
Okay.
They gave me a line of credit and they gave me money to buy 10 trucks.
How much is a truck?
I had met someone that has a trucking leasing company, and I talked to him, and I told him that I would buy the trucks off of lease at wholesale. So I was buying as a wholesale. I bought it for $20,000 a truck.
Oh, my God.
For an
So I
18,
bought-
for how big are these trucks?
Yeah, the 18 wheelers, yeah.
And that includes like the back part. It's not just a. Okay.
Just the front part.
Okay, just the front part. Okay.
yes.
How many millions of miles do they have on them?
No,
Really good?
they had about 400,000 miles,
Which is
but
fine.
which is fine. Those engines are good for $1.5 million, and we're running local, so we're not even doing 60,000 miles a year per truck. So I said, I think that it was working until that point,
Yeah.
so I did that,
and
I got lucky. The market was the wholesale market on trucks was down.
Yeah.
I was in the right place at the right time.
Absolutely.
So I buy these trucks and, boom, we get the loan and we start going. So then, all of a sudden, I get a call from a Fortune 500 company that does recycling. We're looking for someone to handle our work. And in New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, South Jersey. And I said, well, I'm your guy.
Did they find you through a connection or just out of the blue?
Out of the blue. Out of the blue.
Yeah.
Out of the blue. So we start doing work with them, and all of a sudden our business starts increasing. So we closed on the loan in August of 2013, and we did, from the day we closed the loan to December 31st, we did an extra $1 million in business. So we did about 3.4 million. We were flat. We were going to be the same as the year before, and all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
So just because you could handle the volume. when
Right.
they
So
called.
now the volume. So now,
Yeah.
what I thought I can do, I actually I said, shit, I was right.
I can do it.
I can do it. I really can do this. So we, start going and start working, and now we're hitting bigger accounts. And I hear that there's a trucking company, a guy who's selling a trucking company, and he does a lot of rail. On the trains, you see the trailers.
Just containers?
Yeah, but they're on the train.
Yeah.
That he does a lot of that work, and I didn't have an in on that. I didn't know how to do that. So he wanted cheap money. He wanted $200,000 for his business, and he had 12 trucks. So I'm like, I'm gonna buy this guy.
Yeah.
So I call him up, but I didn't want to give him the money all at once because first I needed the money. It wasn't my money to just fuck around with like that, And second, I wanted to be sure that I wasn't making a mistake. So I call him up and I said, look, I'd like to buy your company, but I want to give you $50,000 down, and I'll give you, the rest throughout a year. On a monthly installments or whatever, but I need to do it this way. He says, let me think about it. Call him back 2 days later. He says, I got somebody that's going to buy me. Fucking pissed me off. I'm like, really, man? So, I'm home, and now, my attitude is different now because now I'm doing business. I know what the opportunities are. I know how I can capitalize. So I'm like, fuck, this guy doesn't want to sell me his business.
So was that legit? Was he bullshitting you?
No, he sold it.
He sold it. All right, so there was a guy.
Yeah, so he sold the business, and I'm trying to figure. I said, man, I can't believe I missed this opportunity to start the rail business. I really wanted that. That's another spoke in the wheel. So what I did was I reached out to all my drivers, and I said, does anybody know the dispatcher over at this company? And I said, one guy, yeah, I know him. Can you give him a call and tell him to call me? So the guy calls me and I said, look, I got a deal you can't refuse. Come and see me.
No way.
Yeah. So the guy came in. I gave him a deal he couldn't refuse. You know, how much you making? All right, well, you're going to make this. You know, and this is what I'm expecting. I brought him on. All that business came with him.
It's just because he has so much like domain expertise.
Because he was the one handling the business. I said, you know, if
that's what you were buying almost.
Yes, I was basically buying him. You know, so I made him an offer that was a good offer. And he came on board and he started building that. So now all of a sudden, you know, the business is growing. I go out, I buy more trucks, and you know, we started building. And then all of a sudden, the business started hitting on all cylinders. You know, and we went from 3 million to 4 million to 8 million to 10 million. You know, and it was like that, and it was like, wow. You know, and it was great. You know, business was great. Everything now it's a viable business. Now the opportunities are there. So now what we're doing is we're looking for acquisition. We're looking to see how do we grow, not organically, you know, but how do we grow this business? And it's been tough. Finding something to buy is real difficult. The trucking industry is a very funny business because there's, you know, I was told at a thing I was at, some talk about trucking, that 90% of the trucking companies in the United States are 10% of the trucking companies are 10 trucks or more. 90% are 10 trucks or less.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of mom and pops.
Yeah.
You know. So it's the great divide, you know, because it's hard to find a guy like me that wants to sell. A guy like me wants to buy. And the only thing that you can buy is, you know, a smaller company or like a mom and pop, and they don't run their businesses where the numbers are the numbers. You know, it's like, what's this? Oh, this was a dress I bought my wife. And what's this thing on your American Express? You know, and it gets to, it's very difficult to find the truth in what you're buying. Yeah. You know?
So when you buy a company, what are you looking for? Because you don't necessarily need their trucks. You don't necessarily maybe need their drivers. Do you need their customers?
I need their drivers.
Okay.
I need their drivers. Drivers are the one component that is the biggest issue right now in this business.
They're hard to find?
Hard to find. Hard to find qualified. They're not around. You know, now they just passed a new law where all the log books are going to be electronic.
Okay.
So they're estimating that we're probably going to lose like 12% to early retirement guys that aren't going to want to do that.
Intimidated, right?
Yeah, a lot. That's what they're saying. I mean, I don't know.
Is there fudging of logbooks going on right now?
The industry has always been that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy, like for companies like mine, because I could understand someone that has to take logbooks because they're going cross country.
Yeah.
But we work within a 12-hour day.
Yeah.
Right now, with the log books that we use are just hourly. We just put in the hour we start and the hour we finish. Yeah. And everything works fine. When I start telling my guys now, you got to do this electronic thing, and it's just going to make the guys that are tech savvy are going to take to it. The guys that aren't are going to hate it. And most truck drivers aren't tech savvy.
Right. Man, I went to Bayonne and got a tour of it. It is wild.
Where'd you go to? Global Terminal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's ridiculous. That was... So I got a question for you. Whether it's in the next 10 years or the next 30 years, a lot of trucks are going to be autonomous, right? Like self-driving?
Well, that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Really? Okay. You don't see it? Why?
I think that somebody still has to back it in.
Okay. That's what they do at the terminal. Yeah. They just go in for the last little bit, and then you see this guy at this like giant video game console with two joysticks.
With the three.
Yeah, the cameras.
Yeah.
These big,
who gave you the tour? Dave Brady?
I'll look it up for you. I don't remember. Yeah. It was like a year ago. I'll look it up. Yeah.
But that port, they're doing a great job with that port.
It's cool, right? Yeah. So you just don't. So for that last little bit, that's why it doesn't happen?
Yeah. Well, what happens is I don't know if you want to take 90,000 pounds of equipment and let it drive by itself. You know, I've heard things where they're going to say they're going to make a lane just for that. I mean, listen, for me it would be great because my biggest issue would not be an issue. It would never be an issue. So for me it would be great. I would love it. I don't see it. I don't see how how I can send a self-driving truck from North Bergen, New Jersey to Bayonne. Yeah. He's going to pull in. Yeah. Who the hell's going to ask for the ticket number that he needs or the container number that he needs or whatever? Yeah. I don't know.
I'm so bullish on self-driving cars.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. Yeah.
It's one of those things that's just going to take a lot longer than we expect, but the incentives are there, I feel like, for it to happen, especially with like trucking, because there's difficulty finding truckers.
They're going to have to find a solution. Because right now, the way I see trucking, I don't see any kid that's grown up in this country trucking.
Yeah. What's the average age of your drivers?
I want to say probably 42, 43.
Yeah. It's not something you can outsource.
Yeah.
So what happens then? Is your goal eventually to sell the company?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Do you own 100% of the company?
Yes. I own 100% of it, and I don't know if I would cash out and like maybe leave it to my employees. I wouldn't take that out, that option out. I wouldn't mind doing that. I've gotten offers already. I get offers all the time, and people want to sit but I don't think I'm where I'm supposed to be yet. I still think I'm 53 years old.
I was going to say, like, you're a young dude.
I still have a ways to go. So I'm not thinking about selling. I'm thinking about building with an exit strategy.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of putting it somewhere where, at least it'll be on the map,
How are you going to build for the next 5-10 years? What's the plan?
Well, right now, one of the, and it's funny because, I had all this great momentum growing and growing and growing, and you're hitting, 30% every year for the last couple of years, and you're like, wow,
it's awesome.
I hit $100 million in no time.
$100 billion a month.
I'm a $300 billion company.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was going great, and all of a sudden this year, first quarter is flat. It's no different than first quarter last year. Right. But first quarter last year was 23% higher than first quarter 2014.
Okay.
So I'm like, and I've been feeling it. I mean, this business is in my veins. I have, my thumb on everything that's going on here. I know. So I'm seeing that growth isn't the same, and it's irresponsible to even think that it could be. We got lucky. We hit a good stride, but the reality is that normal business growth is 5 or 6%, not 30%.
Yeah.
So. What I'm doing now, the plan is instead of just going up, we're going to go out. We're going to do vertical growth.
Okay.
We're starting a brokerage company, freight brokerage company, where it has nothing to do with this basically right now. What it's doing is it picks up freight in the Midwest and it hires truckers and it brings a little bit of income. And then I'm currently looking at warehousing opportunities. To take a warehouse on and then I'll be able to offer that to my customers. That way, I think if I did that, I could probably raise my sales another 7 or 8 million over the course of 2 years.
Yeah, that's huge.
And then, the next thing would be I'd like to get into get a customs brokerage house and that I'd like to buy. Where those are the guys that clear all the
So then you're taking stuff in.
So then what happens is I can offer my customer from beginning to end, all the way around. I can do the entry, I can truck it, I can bring it to the warehouse, and I can deliver it.
So are you hiring individual people with like real expertise in all this stuff? Because it feels like you could get burned if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, the brokerage part of the business that we just started, I hired someone that had just left a brokerage company, and I liked her style. I thought, you once in a while you see an all-star. There's that one person that kind of, and I thought she was that. And I said, listen, we're going to start small scale, and this is what I want you to do. And, we just started this actually January of this year.
Oh, cool.
So we just started. And I said by the middle of second quarter, I want to bring a second person on, and then by the middle of third quarter or third, and then, hopefully by the end of 2017, it'll be at least a staff of 10, and then that way we can really start to generate some major freight.
That's super.
But, will it work? Won't it work? I don't know. But it's the idea that I have right now that I think will work.
Right.
I don't think that I can be so stupid as to think that if I continue doing what I'm doing, it's always going to grow at that rate, because it just gets harder. And listen, the competition is competition. People that are out there know exactly what everybody's doing. They're looking at you, and they put a target on your back all the time.
No doubt. As soon as you get one of these awards, I'm sure people are looking at, reading all your stuff, talking to your drivers. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the thing is, that you think that. First of all, and it's funny, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I don't do this for recognition. My recognition is the bank. I want to know that there's money in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go back to what I went to, 20 years ago when I'm sitting there and I'm like, now what am I going to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I'm working for. I don't need someone to give me a trophy and say, hey, great job, pat on the back. But you also have to understand that if people want to recognize you for something, you have to accept it, and and it's not. I mean, it doesn't suck. It feels pretty good. It feels pretty good.
Yeah.
But what happens is, along with that, is that the exposure becomes greater, because now someone that didn't know of you knows of you.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's like they're watching out and they see your trucks, and it's like a double-edged sword. It's good and it's bad.
Is your mom still around?
Yeah.
What does she say about all this?
I think both of my parents are pretty proud.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really
They,
cool.
and it's funny because back then, if I had known that I would be where I am, I couldn't even have guessed it. I didn't even think it was going to last. It was just something to do to pay the bills. It wasn't a.
You never know, man. You see some guy driving down the street in a little box truck delivering potatoes, and 20 years later.
Yeah, a lot of it. I think that a lot of it has to do with, the guy you look at in the mirror every day and who you want him to be. And, there's always an obstacle, and you have to either succumb to it or you have to kill it, and that's what I try to do. And one thing that I always tell my kids, don't be mediocre. Because if you're mediocre, you're like everybody else, stand out, just be different, and it works. It works, it works because no one is doing it.
Yep.
No one is doing it. Everybody's mediocre. Nobody, the other day, and I'll tell you a funny story. The other day, I'm at my dad's house on Easter, and my brother and a cousin are out in the garage, and there was a quarter on the floor. This is funny. There was a quarter on the floor.
Yeah.
And there was a quarter that had fallen down the little grate.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
For the
Like the drain.
For the drain. And I pick up the quarter and I go and pick it up. And my cousin looks at me and she goes, "Mike, what are you doing?" I said, "That's money."
Yeah, totally.
And she's like, "Oh, no wonder you have what you have." And then I said, "Exactly. Exactly. You know what? Because for me, $1 is still the size of a fucking billboard, And the day you stop respecting it is the day you don't earn it.
Nice.
So I watch, what I do. I'm very respectful of the almighty dollar. And,
cool. If someone came to you and said they wanted to start a company like this, would you say do it?
Would I say do it? I would say absolutely do it. Yeah.
Okay. What would you tell them?
What would I tell them? I would tell them, first of all, that they have to put a business plan together. That if you're going to do it how I did it, it's going to take you a long time to grow. Eventually you'll grow, but it's going to take a long time.
So put a business plan together, meaning you try and get some money together from other people.
Money is secondary. I think money is secondary. I think knowing what you want to do is more important.
Okay.
Because it's not, okay, I'm going to open a trucking company. Yeah, but what kind of a trucking company? Are you going to be like a FedEx that's going to deliver packages to people, or are you going to deliver pallets, or are you going to deliver furniture? Bob's Furniture is looking for truckers to deliver furniture.
Seriously.
Is that what you want to do? You have to have an idea and a plan of where you want to go with this. You can't. It's very difficult to start a business one way and then start go back and forth into other, especially in this industry. Because, like with me, when I had the box trucks, if it would have been, that I needed tractors, and how do I transition if you don't have the money? So you have to know where to go.
Yeah.
So you have to have a great goal. You have to have a great business plan, and then you have to have enough money to carry. Because your receivables can get out of control real quick. If you're depending on that money, and in our business, which is a little different than other business, we pay our Easy Pass daily, we pay our fuel daily, and we pay our drivers every Friday.
Yeah.
So you're getting paid in 30, 40 days, but that load got paid, right away.
The cash flow is a universal thing.
Yeah, you have to be very, very, very on your game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then kind of just like wrapping up, in general, John and I are both 27 now.
It's Craig's birthday today.
It's my birthday.
Oh,
sorry.
happy birthday.
I was gonna. Sorry. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, man. What would you tell someone who's like fresh out of college, who's like maybe gonna do their own thing, or maybe not gonna do their own thing? What would your advice be?
The advice that I would give, and I'll tell you because I have kids, just about your age that have come out of college. First of all, you have to be prepared to fail. It's life isn't all about successes. Your failures are what make you. Success. If I remember when I was a kid, I played Little League baseball, and we were on a winning team, and then we went to the big game and we lost. And I was pissed off, throwing my glove, and my dad came up to me and said, "If you don't learn how to lose, you're never going to appreciate winning." And it's the same thing with failing. If you don't learn and accept that failure is part of the game, you're never going to understand how important the success is. Because a lot of people, and you see it with a lot of these startups, they have great success and then they go to shit.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
And it's because, you know what? Yes, success is easy. Maintaining success is difficult. You can go to the top real quick, but how do you stay at the top? And I would say that to them. I would say to be, it's not you hear this cliche, because we had this conversation earlier about it's about follow your passion and that's, for me, that's a crock of shit. My father was a jeweler. I was an art student.
Yeah.
And I'm a fucking trucker.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what?
Connect those dots.
You know what passion is? Passion is profit. That's what passion is. Because if I told you, hey, listen, guys, go out and sell fucking limes on the corner.
Yeah.
If at the end of the day you made $500, you're going to sell limes every day.
Yeah.
There's your passion.
Love it.
Who the fuck wants to sell limes?
Yeah.
I think there's an element of, I don't want to take the words out of your mouth. I think about it a lot though, so that's why I usually wouldn't jump in at this point. But there's an element of that profit is a translation of the fact that you're providing something useful for folks. You have clients that rely on you. You have clients that like what you do. You have customers that are willing to pay you for what you do. And to me, that's kind of the reflection of what's important. People need your service, and you can provide that for them at a price that they're willing to pay.
Right. And along with that and the passion part of it, I think that when you find something that works, it creates a passion. Sometimes, like you hear stories of people who never painted in their lives, and all of a sudden they're painting, and they're painting all the time, and the passion is created because you're seeing success in it. So that's why I think it's so passion is so profit driven. I don't think it's about follow your heart. You can follow your heart off a fucking bridge, and
Well, it's fun being good at the game, and like you're like, oh man, I can really do this. Right. And I hear this from people where you're like, well, if you want to follow your passion and go work for someone. Like, if you follow your passion and start your own company, you might be screwed.
Right. Well, you listen, and it's very important. I think that the experience that you can get out there, you need to get.
Yeah.
You need to work for people. You need to understand. It doesn't even have to be the business that you're in, but that you want to do. But you need to understand the business.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a lot of factors that you don't take into consideration when you go on your own. That all of a sudden, you know, you're confronted with, and you don't know how to handle. So it's nice to be, you know, on the side, watching how these things are handled and getting involved. You know, which is one of the, I think one of the problems that people have today, that they just, I'm going to start my own thing. So starting your own thing is easy. Yeah. Keeping your own thing is impossible.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's difficult. Cool.
Awesome.
And if you have any last words, you feel free.
Keep on trucking.
Oh my gosh.
One last word. I have nothing
This
to
episode's
say.
going in the can.
We're done. All right, man. Cool.
Folks, if you get our email newsletter and you don't like it, that means that Craig made that one. If you do like it, I'll let you know that we use MailChimp.com to create and send all of our newsletters. When we record a show, we do some extra interviews and get some pictures, and we send that out in a newsletter. So do two things. One, sign up for our newsletter at saltpodcast.com. And two, sign up for MailChimp for your own business at MailChimp.com. Sign up is free.